السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Inshallah, next week will be the last time we talk about Surah Talaq, and after that we'll begin with Surah At-Taghabun. Actually, the past Surah, Surah At-Tahrim, and the current Surah, both of them mostly talk about women, and both of them consist of 12 verses, 12 ayat. And we're still exploring why these two verses talking about women, both of them consist of, each of them consists of 12 verses. So as usual, we'll begin with listening to a recitation of the verses that we'll be discussing tonight. That's verse 9 and 10. And after that, we'll continue with the tafsir. So the paper that contains the verses is in front of you, so you can listen. And then after that, we'll go ahead with the tafsir.
أعد الله لهم عذابا شديدا
And how many a city was insolent toward the command of its Lord and his Master gives a severe account and punish it with a terrible punishment.
فذاقت وبال أمرها وكان عاقبة أمرها خسرا.
And it tasted the bad consequence of its affair, and the outcome of its affair was loss.
أعد الله لهم عذابا شديدا فاتقوا الله يا أولي الألباب الذين آمنوا قد أنزل الله إليكم ذكرا.
Allah has prepared for them a severe punishment. So fear Allah, O you of understanding who have believed. Allah has sent down to you the Quran.
So as usual, we will begin with keywords that will help us understand better the verses. So those of you who are learning Arabic, at least as we said before, if you learn 10 words today and next week 10 words after a year, you'll have a wealth of vocabulary in Arabic. So we have the word wabal. The word wabal has different connotations. One of them is shidda. Shidda means severity, strength, power, severity, strength, power, harshness. It also means wabal, it means wakhamatun wa thiqal. Wakhama means bad consequences, evil results. So you do something bad, you will suffer the bad consequences of what you do. And thiqal means seriousness, importance, severity, gravity, graveness, among others. It also means danger. So wabal also means su'ul aqiba. Su'ul aqiba means harm, evil, bad consequences, evil results, evil outcome, among others. Then we have the word amrun. Amrun also has a lot of connotations, so we will discuss just a few of them. Amrun means sha'nun. Sha'nun means affair, case, issue, matter, a concern, among others. Affair, issue, case, matter, concern, among others. It also means hal, situation, circumstance, the state of affairs as they are, or the state of things as they are. Then we have shay'un. The same thing, amrun means shay'un, something, a stuff, an issue. It also means haditha. Haditha has also a lot of meanings. One of them is an incident, accident, occurrence, a mishap, among others. Then we have the word dhikrun, and actually we will be talking much about this word dhikrun. First, it means talaffudun bi shay', to utter something, to pronounce something, to enunciate something. It also means suyutun. Suyutun means good repute, fame, good name. So for example, someone is a good person, after he died, he leaves behind him a good reputation. So suyutun means a good reputation, good fame. It also, dhikr means thana, praise, to praise someone, to laud someone, to extol someone. It also means sharaf. Sharaf means honor, dignity, high rank, among others. Honor, dignity, high rank, repute, among others. So we will see especially the word dhikr, how it comes to play when we discuss the verses tonight. Now, before we continue, we would begin with verse number 8, because number 9 is connected to verse number 8. Would anyone like to volunteer to read the verse number 8, either in English or Arabic? Any volunteer to read verse number 8 on the paper, either in Arabic or English? Yes, sister?
وكأين من قرية عتت عن أمر ربها ورسله فحاسبناها حسابا شديدا وعذبناها عذابا نكرا.
Thank you. Anyone to read in English, the translation? So the sister Jazakallah Khair has volunteered to read in Arabic. Anyone to read in English? The translation of the verse. Yes, sister?
Yet how many a Bible community has insolently defied the commands of its Lord and his messengers. So we called each one to account. With a severe accounting, for we punished each with a horrid punishment.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us here that there were a lot of communities, a lot of cities, a lot of villages whereby people insolently disbelieved in Allah and in the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Even other messengers who came before Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, they defied the law of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They defied the message of the messengers that were sent to them. So what happened? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala punished them on earth, and a severe punishment is awaiting them on the day of judgment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning us, is telling us that those people were more powerful than you, were more sophisticated than you, but because they did not obey the commands of Allah, so Allah punished them on earth, and in the hereafter they're going to face a severe punishment. So this is to tell us that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was able to punish those who came before us, who were strong, who were capable of doing their affairs, and yet they were not grateful to Allah, then He can also punish us if we do not obey Him, if we do not worship Him. So Allah continues, He says, فَذَاقَتْ وَبَالَ أَمْرِهَا. So they tested. You know, ذَوْق in Arabic means to test. For example, you want to eat some food, you test it before you eat it. Last Friday, I gave a Friday sermon, a khutbah, and I was talking about the importance of guarding our tongue, that the tongue is a double-edged sword. If you use it in a good way, you get rewarded. If you use it in a bad way, you will suffer the evil consequences of misusing your tongue. Abusing people, accusing people falsely, insulting people among others. And I also shared with the people who attended the information I got from a nutritionist. There is a nutritionist who gave a lecture and said, according to him, 99% of our food choices is based on our tongue. So the tongue decides what we eat, because if the food tastes good on the tongue, whether it's nutritious, beneficial to your health, so long or not, so long as it tastes good, you choose to eat it. You disregard the evil consequences from that food if it's not nutritious because of just one part of your body. So فَذَاقَتْ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is scolding them, is castigating them, is criticizing them, saying that, you know, this is what you wanted, so taste the punishment. I've been warning you, I've sent messengers to you, I've sent you divine scriptures to warn you of disobeying me. So if that's what you wanted, to disobey me, so now taste the evil results of your acts. And actually, فَذَاقَتْ means also to suffer, to go through, to pass through difficulty, to feel something completely. So فَذَاقَتْ وَبَالَ أَمْرِهَا. So those who disbelieved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who were insolent, who defied the commands of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they tasted the evil consequences of the affair of disbelieving in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we said Amr means sha'n, affair, and it also means situation, condition. So they were in a condition, in a situation of disbelieving in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they suffered the evil consequences of their situation of disbelieving in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَكَانَ عَاقِبَةُ أَمْرِهَا خُسْرًا. And the evil results of their disbelieving affair was total loss, eternal loss, here on earth and in the hereafter. So al-dhawq, which means basically to taste, means huna, from the context of the verses, Al-ihsasu bi-shay, to feel something, to perceive something, to be aware of something, to sense something, ihsasan wadiha, to unambiguously, clearly feel something. You don't have any doubt. Now you feel it. And actually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah Al-Takathur, إن ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, no, it's not what you think, that if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you blessings here on earth, it will be the same if you do not worship Him in the hereafter. You will come to know with certainty. So there is actually, according to Sha'rawi, there is علم اليقين, عين اليقين, حق اليقين. علم اليقين is to learn something from credible sources, you believe it, although you didn't see it. For example, when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about the Day of Judgment, we learn about it in the Quran, we learn about it in some narrations of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, because Allah is the one telling us we believe it, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam is the one telling us we believe it. So this is ilmul yaqeen, certainty of knowledge, to know certainly that something you're learning is true. And then there is aynul yaqeen. Aynul yaqeen is, for example, if someone, a geography teacher teaches you about Rome and tells you about the skyscrapers in Rome, you will see them in books, you'll see pictures, you will believe him because you've seen the pictures. Or, for example, after teaching you for quite some time, he tells you, let's fly over Rome. So you are in an airplane, you fly over Rome, and he shows you the skyscrapers of Rome. So this is Aynul Yaqeen, you're seeing it. And Haqqul Yaqeen, this is when now you descend into Rome. You begin moving and strolling around the streets of Rome, so you experience Rome. You were learning about it, you saw it from above the sky, and now you are in it. So Haqqul Yaqeen is when people either will go to paradise or they will go to the hellfire. This is when they will see the reality, they will sense it. So Al-Ihsas, when these people were being punished on earth, and then they were punished, they will be punished in the hellfire. When they see the punishment, when they are being punished, then they will see the reality. They will feel it obviously. So there is nothing that they will have to deny, because they already see the punishment. So it means ذاقت غِبَّ مخالفتها. غِبَّ is another word for maghabba. So those people who disobeyed Allah, who disbelieved in Allah, who discredited the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, they tested, or they suffered the evil consequences of their opposition, or the evil consequences of opposing the commands of Allah. مخالفتها لأمر الله. So they suffered the evil consequences, the bad results of disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, not only the disbelievers in Allah during the time of the Prophet ﷺ were punished, even before the time of the Prophet ﷺ. There were people who disobeyed Allah, who were very insolent, who not only did they themselves choose not to believe, but they were encouraging others as well to disbelieve in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they got double punishment for them not to believe, and for this encouraging others not to believe as well. Now, can anyone tell us some of the communities that didn't believe in Allah and then they were punished here on earth? Any of them? Before the time of the Prophet? Yes, sister? Fir'aun. So Fir'aun and those who followed him were punished on earth. And still today, if you go to Egypt, you will see the body of the Pharaoh in one of the museums. So because he was insolent, he claimed to be God, even he asked his servants to set up some ladders for him to be able to ascend to go and fight with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So he was terribly punished here on earth, and a heavy punishment, a grievous punishment is awaiting him on the Day of Judgment. So Pharaoh and his followers, who else among the people who were punished? Yes. Ad and Thamud. Ad, where did they live? Does anyone know where the people of Ad lived? Which area? Ad. Hadramut. Ad lived in a place called Al-Ahtaf, between Yemen and Oman. So Ad, and as I said before, in order not to confuse, because people always confuse between Ad and Thamud. So who was sent to who? So Ad, who was the prophet that was sent to Ad? Ad, Hud. So, as we said before, in order not to confuse, the word ad, of how many letters does it consist? Three. And Hud? Three. So 3. And Thamud, how many letters? 4. And then Saleh. Saleh was sent to them. So Thamud, Saleh was sent to Thamud. Hud was sent to Ad. So Ad lived in a place called Al-Ahqaf between Yemen and Oman. And Thamud, where did they live? In a place called Al-Hijr, northern of Medina. So by which punishment were the people of Ad, were the tribe of Ad punished? By which punishment did Allah punish them? Or what was the punishment that was meted out to Ad? بريح صرصر عاتية, an overpowering thunderclap. In some translations, it was a terrible storm of thunder and lightning. A terrible storm of thunder and lightning. And Thamud, what was their punishment? Does anyone know the major sin of Thamud, what they committed which warranted them to be punished? Yes, Hudayfa?
They killed a she-camel.
They killed a she-camel, which they had requested as a miracle to prove to them that Saleh was a prophet. And actually Saleh alayhi salam, he prayed to Allah to show them the miracle according to their own specifics. They specified it, they wanted it to be the way they wanted it, and Allah sent it to them, but yet they killed it. So what was the punishment for killing the she-camel? It was furious, violent wind. Allah sent to them a furious, violent wind. So those people were punished, they were in the Arabian Peninsula. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning the polytheists, to whom the Prophet ﷺ was sent, among others, that if you do not believe, if you defy the commands of Allah, your fate will be the fate of, like the fate of Ad and Thamud. Because we might say they were far away from the Egyptian civilization. Maybe they didn't know about it, but their minds were fresh with the civilization of the Ad and the Thamud. So Allah is warning them by giving them the example of people who insolently didn't believe in Him and finally were punished here on earth. And there is another punishment awaiting them on the day of judgment. وَقِيلَ, it was said, ذَاقَتْ عَاقِبَةَ ثِقَلِ الْعَذَابِ. So those communities that didn't believe in Allah, that didn't believe in their messengers, what happened to them? They suffered the bad consequences of the graveness of the punishment that was meted out to them because of their disbelief. So because they disbelieved in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they ended up being punished by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, is it difficult to avoid the punishment of Allah either here on earth or in the hereafter? Is it difficult to avoid the punishment of Allah here on earth and in the hereafter? Is it difficult? So how can we avoid the punishment? Are there some things that we can do to avoid punishment on earth?
Yes.
Examples like?
You abstain from one halal.
To abstain from haram and stick to what's halal. So everything that Allah has forbidden, we abstain from it, and everything that Allah has allowed us, we use it in moderation. We don't go to extremes. So abstain from halal, stick to haram, and abstain from haram, stick to halal. And actually, if you do a research, everything that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prohibited is detrimental to our health and well-being. If you continuously commit what's haram, you are harming your health, you are harming yourself and the community, and you will pay the price here on earth before the hereafter. So if you are a clever person, you abstain from haram, you commit yourself to halal, because halal is good for you. So what else can we do? Simple things that we can do to avoid the wrath of Allah. Yes, Hudayfa?
To love Allah by respecting and obeying His creatures.
So to love Allah and to obey and respect His creatures. Because if you truly love Allah, you have to treat well His creatures. What else? You see, Mu'adh ibn Jabal, one of the bona fide companions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, said, "Man kana akhiru kalamihi la ilaha illallah dakhala al-jannah." It was narrated by Mu'adh ibn Jabal that the Prophet ﷺ said, "He whose last words are, there is no one worthy to be worshipped except Allah, he will go to paradise." So if your last words before you die, you say, "La ilaha illallah Muhammadun Rasulullah," you go to paradise. Is it difficult to say La ilaha illallah?
No, but
Yes and no. Yes and no.
yes.
I know someone who was not a religious person. He was a Muslim but not a religious person. So he was traveling by bus. And he said, while traveling, the driver of the bus lost control. it was about to make an accident. So most of the people were crying, knowing that they wouldn't survive it. So he was trying to say, La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. He wasn't able. He wanted to say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadur Rasulullah. He said, ash. He couldn't complete it. And this is one of the reasons they say that if you are taking care of a patient, especially if he is suffering from a terminal disease, you keep repeating La ilaha illallah. Perchance he might repeat it like you and then he will go to paradise. So when we're still alive, is it difficult to say La ilaha illallah? There are a lot of statements that if we say, they will reap us a lot of rewards. And this is what I told the people, that instead of gossiping, backbiting, slandering people, accusing people falsely, or telling lies in order to make your friends laugh, why don't you make dhikr? La ilaha illallah, subhanallah, alhamdulillah, wa la ilaha illallah. You will get a lot of rewards. The Prophet ﷺ, a man came to him by the name Abdullah ibn Busr. Abdullah ibn Busr said, Ya Rasulullah, O Messenger of Allah, the optional acts of worship in Islam have become too much for me. I can't do everything which is optional. There's a lot of sunnah, everything sunnah, sunnah, sunnah. It's difficult for me. So encourage me or tell me of something that I should stick to. Does anyone know what the Prophet told him? So this person, this Sahabi, was complaining to the Prophet ﷺ, the compulsory acts of worship, they are known. And actually, as a believer, you can't complain about it because they are compulsory. But the optional acts of worship are many and diverse. So you can't perform all of them at once. And the Prophet and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ. So fear Allah according to your ability. Carry out the acts of worship according to your ability. So this man complained to the Prophet. He said, they are too much. I can't perform everything. So what shall I stick to by which I will get rewards from Allah? Does anyone know what the Prophet told him? Yes?
Not about this, but this خفيفة على لسان ثقيلة بالميزان.
يا كلمتان خفيفتان على اللسان ثقيلتان في الميزان. سبحان الله وبحمده سبحان الله العظيم.
But when we said La ilaha illallah, we must be meaning in our
Yes, yeah. You have to believe in it in your heart, you have to feel it, you have to say it, and you have to act upon it. It's not just a lip service. So it's a minute. And actually, this is what I tell those who become Muslims, that it's not an issue of saying La ilaha illallah. You have to deeply believe in it, be convinced that Allah is one and Prophet Muhammad is the last messenger. You pronounce it, you say it, and you act upon it. And I give them an example of Abu Lahab, Prophet Muhammad's paternal uncle, brother of his father, Prophet Muhammad's father. Abu Lahab, he used his position as a paternal uncle of the Prophet ﷺ to discredit the message of the Prophet. So he would tell the people he's a liar. And because he was related to Prophet Muhammad, some people would say yes, because Abu Lahab is paternal uncle of Prophet Muhammad, and he's the one saying that the Prophet is a liar. So the Abu Lahab tried in many ways to discredit the message of the Prophet ﷺ, harming the Prophet along with his wife, Abu Lahab with his wife, harming the Prophet ﷺ on different occasions, until a surah was revealed that Abu Lahab will go to hell. Now, this would have been a golden opportunity on a silver platter for Abu Lahab to discredit Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Even though he didn't mean it in his heart, he would have gone to the public and say, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah. Muhammad says I will go to hell. He's a liar. Now I believe. Even if he didn't mean it. But he never did it. Although he spoke Arabic, the surah was being revealed, it was being recited several times. He never did it because he knew La ilaha illallah is binding. Once you believe in it, you are duty bound to act upon it. So it's not an issue of lip service. So here we were talking about the Prophet ﷺ, when he was faced by a companion asking him what to do, so that what act of worship which is optional should he do in order to get a lot of rewards. Does anyone know what the Prophet told him? He said, "La yazalu lisanuka ratiban bidhikr Allah." So let not your tongue cease being moist with remembering Allah, with mentioning Allah. You know, sometimes when people talk a lot, you can see some saliva around their mouths. So this is when they talk a lot. So the Prophet is telling this man, always remember Allah, always mention Allah, believe in Allah, love Him, say statements which are pleasing to Allah, this will reap you a lot of rewards. So you use the tongue by saying things that Allah wants, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward you for that. وَكَانَ عَاقِبَةُ أَمْرِهَا خُسْرًا. And the evil result, the evil consequence of the affair of disbelief was total loss. Loss on earth and in the hereafter. What does it mean? أي, which means وَكَانَ الَّذِي أَعْقَبَ كُفْرَهُم. What was the end result of their disbelief in Allah? Azza wa Jalla, to whom belongs all might and majesty. وَعِصْيَانَهُمْ, and to disobey Him was غُبْنًا. The word غُبْن has different connotations. Can anyone tell us one of the meanings of the word غُبْن? غُبْن. It's an Arabic word with a lot of connotations. غُبْن. Does anyone know any of the meanings? ظلم, injustice, unfairness. What else? Injustice, unfairness. What else? Disadvantage, loss, disadvantage, loss, detriment. So the end result of the disbelief of those people and disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was loss, total loss and detriment. So their disbelief was detrimental to them, to their well-being and to their future, to their destiny, because they didn't believe and they didn't obey Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَقِيلَ, it was also said, عَجَّلَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى لَهُم مِّنَ الْعَذَابِ فِي الدُّنْيَا. So because of their disbelief, because of their disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah expedited some punishment on earth. So they were punished on earth before the day of judgment. وَخَسِرُوا فِي الدَّارِ الْآخِرَةِ. And they lost in the abode of the hereafter. So they lost both here on earth and in the hereafter. Now when we talk about loss, for example the polytheists during the time of the Prophet ﷺ, what kind of punishments did they suffer from? Those mushrikeen, those who were disobedient, insolently tarnishing the reputation of the Prophet ﷺ and encouraging others to disbelieve. They suffered different punishments. One of them, yes sister?
Internal confusion, like they are always confused inside their mind.
Yeah, they were confused.
They know that this is the right thing.
So they didn't enjoy happiness because they were not true with themselves. So inside of themselves, they know the Prophet is telling the truth, but because of arrogance, because of competition among others, they disbelieved in him. So they were not totally happy. Although they would fake happiness, but inside of themselves, they were not happy. What else? What else did they suffer from? So they suffered from double personality. One personality says the Prophet is right, another one says he's wrong because you want to impress the people whom you're dealing with. You want to gain a big following, so you don't enjoy, you don't feel happy within yourself. So what else? Punishments that were meted out to the people who disbelieved in Allah and discredited the message of the Prophet. They will suffer from famine, from drought. And on so many occasions, whenever they suffered, they would resort to the Prophet ﷺ to pray to Allah to give them relief. So the person they were calling crazy, the person they were calling possessed, the person they were calling a poet, whenever there was a problem, they would resort to him, asking him or begging him to pray to Allah to give them relief. What else? Another type of punishment. During war, they were killed. Although they were the majority on almost all the battles they fought with the Muslims, they were vanquished. So there are different kinds of loss that they incurred because of their disbelief here on earth, and in the hereafter, another type of punishment is awaiting them. وَقِيلَ, it was said, هَلَاكًا فِي الدُّنْيَا. They perished. They were utterly in loss in here on earth, وَعَذَابًا فِي الْآخِرَةِ. And they will face a severe punishment in the hereafter. Now, before I continue, I should share with you something written by Abdullah Yusuf Ali. Abdullah Yusuf Ali is among the first translators of the Quran into English. So Abdullah Yusuf Ali says, Allah has prepared for them a severe torment. So, fear Allah and keep your duty to Him, O men of understanding who have believed. Allah has indeed sent down to you a reminder. So Abdullah Yusuf Ali is telling us, actually this is a verse in the Quran, and he is explaining it more, that Allah has prepared for those people a severe punishment. So he is advising us that we should fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to avoid such punishment. Now upon this, there are some quotes related to the topic that I would like to share with you. So one of them says, a smart man learns from his mistakes. A smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise one learns from the mistakes of others. So if you're smart, you learn from your mistakes. But if you are even smarter, you are wise, you will learn from the mistakes of others. So here, the polytheists during the time of the Prophet ﷺ were supposed to learn from the mistakes of Ad, Thamud, Pharaoh, among others. That these people were polytheists like us. They suffered here on earth and in the hereafter, so they would avoid committing the same mistakes. So since they didn't learn from their own mistakes and from the mistakes of others, what shall we call them? Another one says, wise men learn by other men's mistakes. Wise men learn by other men's mistakes. Fools by their own mistakes. Now here he has gone to some extreme. This is a Norwegian proverb. Now to reconcile with this one, with the first one, I think what they mean is, if you are wise, you will commit a mistake once and learn from it, so you don't commit it again. So if you commit it again, then you are a fool, right? Yeah, we are human beings, we make mistakes. So don't repeat the same mistake twice. If you repeat the same mistake twice, then there's a problem with you. Another one says, from the errors of others, a wise man corrects his own. From other people's errors, other people's mistakes, you correct your own mistake. So this is something that we learn from the Quran. Why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sharing with us the stories of the people who came before us, who disobeyed Him and eventually were punished, so that we learn from their mistakes. Those people were enjoying the life according to their standards. Allah had given them a lot of blessings, but they denied the fact that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was their provider. And as such, they didn't believe in Him, and they discredited the message of the Prophet ﷺ, and finally, they were punished. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ لَهُمْ عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has prepared for them a very severe punishment, prepared for those who died without repenting. If you repent, Allah forgives you. Not only that, He turns your sins into rewards. So after saying this, Allah says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ. So fear Allah. So after learning about the people who perished before, who were punished on earth, and then will be punished in the hereafter, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهِ. So fear Allah, يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. O you people of understanding, people of discretion, people of understanding, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. So who are the people of discretion? Who are the people of understanding? الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا. Those who have believed. So the people who have believed in Allah, who have believed in the messengers, who have believed in the Prophet ﷺ, among others, they are the people of understanding and discretion. And Allah says, قَدْ أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ إِلَيْكُمْ ذِكْرًا. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed or has sent down to you the Quran as a reminder. So you have the Quran that reminds you, you have the Prophet ﷺ that interprets the Quran and practices it, is the working Quran that you can emulate. So there is nothing you can give as an excuse for not believing in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Which means أَعَدَّ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى لَهُمْ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prepared for those disbelievers who died before repentance عَذَابًا شَدِيدًا, a very severe punishment. فِي الْآخِرَةِ, in the hereafter, وَهُوَ عَذَابُ النَّارِ, and that's the punishment of the hellfire. So Tony, do you mind reading to us chapter 42, verse 52, Surah Ash-Shura?
And thus too, O Muhammad, have we revealed unto thee a life-giving message, coming at our behest. Ere this message come unto thee, thou didst not know what revelation is, nor what faith implies. But now we have caused this message to be a light, whereby we guide whom we will of our servants, and verily, on the strength thereof, thou too shalt guide men unto the straight way.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وكذلك أوحينا إليك روحا من أمرنا ما كنت تدري ما الكتاب ولا الإيمان ولكن جعلناه نورا نهدي به من نشاء من عبادنا وإنك لتهدي إلى صراط مستقيم. The translation is, and so it is we, Allah, who have revealed to you, O Prophet, this Quran as a guiding spirit of the divine law with our revealed command. Never before it did you know what the book of Allah was, nor was heavenly faith, nor what was heavenly faith. Thus have we made it a light by which we guide whomever we so will of our servants. And indeed, thereby you guide humanity to a straight way of salvation. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling the Prophet ﷺ that this is light for you and light for your people. Before it was revealed, you didn't know anything about faith. And actually this verse serves us in da'wah, especially when we deal with people who claim that the Quran was Prophet Muhammad's handiwork, that the Quran was written by the Prophet ﷺ. So what can we tell them based on this verse? Based on this verse, what can we tell them? So Allah is telling the Prophet, and so it is we who have revealed to you, O Prophet, this Quran as a guiding spirit of the divine law with our revealed command. Never before it did you know what the book of Allah was, nor what heavenly faith was. So Allah is telling the Prophet, this is light for you and for those who follow you. Before it was revealed, you knew nothing about it. And you didn't know anything about faith. So if the Prophet ﷺ was the one who wrote the Quran, how can he write about himself that he didn't know about the Quran? So how can you write something which you don't know about? And actually those who write books, they praise themselves. After researching for 20 years, 30 years, they came to a conclusion that this and that. So praising themselves in order to encourage people to buy the book. If you don't, then people won't buy. So here Allah is telling them, it's from me, it's from Allah, the light. And actually, we will be talking about some names of the Quran. One of them is light. The Quran is light. Can anyone tell us in what way is the Quran light to the Prophet and to us? In what way? What are the aspects? Yes?
Because it guides us.
It guides us
Yeah.
to the right path.
Yeah.
So it's a light removing us from darkness into light and guiding us on the right path. What else does it mean by being light? Yes, sister?
Also, the Quran gives you like solutions to different
So the Quran provides you with solutions to your problems. So it gives you light, showing you, guiding you to the way of getting solutions to your problems. Yes, Udayfa?
I can say it in two ways. First of all, it's like when you buy a product from any supermarket or something, you read the catalog. It's to your benefit because you know how you're going to, you know how it will benefit you. So the other thing is it benefits you because sometimes there is some problems. Some disbelievers ask the Prophet some questions, so it will help the Prophet to answer their questions, which are very hard.
Yeah, so it was a light to the Prophet, peace be upon him, because whenever he was asked questions by non-believers, sometimes he didn't have the answers, and he would wait for the revelation to come to him, guiding him to the proper answers to give to those disbelievers. One. Number two, we need, as human beings, we need a guiding manual. Like when you buy a product, you need a manual that has solutions, has teaching, it guides you on how to benefit from the product. So it's light for us in different ways. And actually, we will be discussing the different names of the Quran. So, وَقِيلَ, it was said, بَيَّنَ اللَّهُ عَزَّ وَجَلَّ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala explained and clarified, to whom belongs all might and majesty. Azza wa Jalla, to whom belongs all might and majesty, clarified the meaning of the Quran being a guide or being a remembrance. ذَلِكَ الْخُسُرُ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clarified the loss that those disbelievers got, أَنَّهُ عَذَابُ جَهَنَّمَ فِي الْآخِرَةِ. That loss will be manifested in the punishment in the hellfire in the hereafter. So Allah clarified the punishment, the loss, stated that the loss of the disbelievers who died before repentance will be punishment in the hellfire. So Allah says, فَاتَّقُوا اللَّهَ يَا أُولِي الْأَلْبَابِ. So fear Allah, all people of understanding and discretion. So everyone who has understanding, who has discretion, has to fear Allah. أي فَخَافُوا اللَّهِ. Fear Allah. وَاحْذَرُوا سُخْطَهُ. And be cautious, beware of His wrath. Fear Him, beware of wrath. Make sure He does not get annoyed with you. بِأَدَاءِ الْفَرَائِضِ. How will you achieve that? How will you fear Allah? How will you make sure that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't get annoyed with you? By performing the compulsory acts of worship. So if you perform the compulsory acts of worship with sincerity, good heart, clarity, you will have protected yourself from the wrath of Allah. Now before we continue, Tony, do you mind reading to us chapter 69, verse 48, Surah Al-Haqqa.
And verily, this Quran is a reminder to all the God conscious.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَإِنَّهُ لَتَذْكِرَةٌ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. Thus this Quran is a revealed reminder sent in admonition for all the God-fearing people. So everyone who fears Allah, the Quran is a reminder. And we will see how and why the Quran is a reminder to us. So if anyone claims to be fearing Allah, or if anyone is determined to fear Allah and to avoid His anger, he has to perform the acts of worship which are obligatory, وَاجْتِنَابِ الْمَعَاصِي, and to abstain from sins, from acts of disobedience to Allah. So why is it important? On the one hand, you perform acts of worship. On the other hand, you avoid acts of disobedience to Allah. Why is it important to avoid acts of disobedience? Can someone say, okay, just I will perform acts of worship at the same time I will commit sins? Does it work? Yeah, it can't. So why?
Those two things work together. You cannot be like fearful every time you are praying, but you are disobedient. You are still doing.
So it's like washing your clothes when they become clean, and then you tarnish them.
Yeah.
You throw them into sand. Yes, sister. السؤال باللغة العربية ما هي ضرورة أداء الفرائض واجتناب المعاصي؟ لماذا لا نكتفي بأداء الفرائض ونجتنب المعاصي طالما أن الإنسان يؤدي الفرائض وحتى لو عصى؟ طب لماذا هو ضروري أننا نجتنب المعاصي بعد أداء الفرائض؟
احنا ما نضحك على رب العالمين علشان هذا امر من رب العالمين.
So she says this is a command from Allah. We have to be sincere with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So at the one hand you're pleasing Him, and on the other hand you are annoying Him. So this doesn't work. We can't toy around with Allah. We have to respect Him. We have to revere Him. And actually, by avoiding acts of disobedience to Allah, we are doing a service to ourselves. So Allah is not benefiting from us if we abstain from sins. But Allah wants us to be in prosperity. Allah wants us to enjoy well-being and wellness. So if we do that, if we avoid sins, it's good for ourselves. You can do a research, any type of sin, if you engross in it, it will be detrimental to you in different ways here on earth, before even the hereafter. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be peaceful, wants us to enjoy. One of the reasons why, because our bodies do not belong to us. Our bodies are a trust from Allah to us. So the more we do what's good for ourselves, the more Allah becomes happy. It's like, for example, someone is your friend, and this person travels, and he says, please take care of my car. He will give you a set of instructions. Every morning you have to do this and that. And if you are really loyal to that person, if you love him, you will take care of his property according to his instructions, not according to what you deem fit, because it's his property. He knows more about it than you. So you will follow his instructions. So Allah is our creator, and our bodies do not belong to us. They belong to Allah. So the more we follow the instructions of Allah on how to take care of our bodies, the more Allah becomes happy, the more Allah rewards us. And if you do something detrimental to your health, even if it's your body, it's a sin. Allah will punish you, because your body isn't your property. It's Allah's property. So it's very important to perform acts of worship which are compulsory, and of course those which are optional according to our ability, and to avoid committing sins. وَقِيلَ, it was said, يَا أَصْحَابُ الْعُقُولِ الرَّاجِحَةِ, all people of superior understanding, superior discretion, لَا تَكُونُوا مِثْلَهُمْ, don't be like the communities, like the people who perished in the past, who disobeyed Allah, who disbelieved in Him, فَيُصِيبَكُمُ الْعَذَابِ, lest the punishment will afflict you. So Allah is warning us. One of the reasons why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us in the Quran about the people who passed, especially those who didn't obey him, who didn't believe in him, is to warn us that if you do the same, you will be punished in one way or the other. It does not necessarily, it won't necessarily be the same punishment. There are many ways in which someone can be punished. And we see it every day. If someone surrenders to committing sins, there are many ways in which he pays the price here on earth before even the hereafter. Can we brainstorm on some sins which people committed and then they suffered here on earth, and how they suffered? Just brief examples. Yes, sister?
Like people that drink alcohol.
Those who drink alcohol.
Yes.
Yeah.
You'll be driving,
It's detrimental to your health. They lose respect in the community. Even in non-Muslim communities, if someone is famous as an alcoholic, if they are in a meeting, in a council, discussing something and he wants to do something, they would say, what do you have to say? You are an alcoholic person. In some countries, for example, truck drivers are only Muslims. Even if when the companies are owned by non-Muslims, they are keen to employ Muslims as truck drivers because Muslims, majority of them don't drink. So they don't want to get lost by the drunk drivers. Yes, Hudayfa?
I know some person is suffering from POST because he killed a lot of people, and that's haunting him every time because of killing a lot of. So finally, he ended up killing himself.
Yeah, because he killed a lot of people. He suffered from post-traumatic, how do they call it? Post-traumatic stress syndrome. Post-traumatic stress disorder. Is it trauma disorder? Disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder. So because he killed a lot of people, he ended up killing himself, right? So that was the sin he committed here. He paid the price before even the hereafter. So every sin that you commit, if you continuously do it, it's detrimental to your health and well-being here on earth before even the hereafter. So we have alcoholism, we have murder. What else? What else among the sins? This brother?
People who are not good to their parents.
People who do not respect their parents, who are not dutiful to their parents. Their own children end up mistreating them. Actually, I saw a video, a child, a boy, maybe 7, 8 years old. He was good at drawing things, drawing houses. So he was drawing a house for his father. And he was saying, he told his father, I want to sketch my house in the future when I grow up. So he sketched the house. This will be my wife's room. This will be my children's room. So the father asked him, so what about me? Where will my room be? So his son drew for him a tiny room, small room on the first floor. He said, this will be your room. So the father asked him, why are you allocating a small room for me? The son said, because you gave your father a small room. So because you gave your father a small room in your house, I'm going to give you the same when I grow up. And the father cried. So what goes around comes around. So the kids are watching over you, how you treat your father. So they will see they will think this is the norm. So when you grow old, they will also do the same. So this is why actually we encourage people, do not take your aged parents to old age nursing homes. Take care of them at home. They need you the most, especially when they grow old. If you take them there, be prepared for your kids to take you there as well.
Yes,
yes, sister?
And actually, I just want to go first to that. You see, kids are like, they believe in their parents. That's their first belief. Whatever you do to your kids, whatever he saw you doing, he thought that that's the right thing to do.
Yeah, you are a hero to him, a role model.
باللغة العربية ممكن أسأل مرات الوالدين يبرون أهاليهم شيء بس أطفال الجيل الجديد أطفالهم ما يبرونهم مع أنهم بروا أجدادهم وأبهاتهم بس هذا شلون؟
هو مش أولا مش شرط أن الإنسان إذا ما بر والديه أولاده ما يبرونه مش شرط. إيه قد يحصل هناك تناقض يعني مش شرط هذا. ثانيا هناك أسباب. بعض الأهالي لا يعلمون أولادهم الدين. يريد ولده يكون طبيب، يكون محامي، وليس له أصول دينية، ويذهب إلى الدول غير إسلامية وثقافته كلها غير ثقافة إسلامية، فكيف يعني تظن أن الولد سيبرك وهو ما عنده ثقافة إسلامية؟ فلا بد أن تكون أصول إسلامية. إذا كانت أصول إسلامية حتى لو ذهب الولد إلى أي مكان سوف يتذكر في النهاية بر الوالدين. فحتى في هذه الحالة هناك مشكلة من الوالدين كيف كانوا يتعاملون مع الأولاد. So here the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith that was narrated by Abu Dharr al-Ghifari, he says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اتق الله حيثما كنت, fear Allah wheresoever you are, وأتبع السيئة الحسنة تمحوها, and follow up a bad deed with good deeds. The good deeds will wipe out the bad deed. وخالق الناس بخلق حسن, and treat people well or behave well towards people. So when you're dealing with people, behave well with them. Do not misbehave. The Prophet ﷺ says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was sent by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to complete good manners. We have to behave well. So the fear of Allah is very important. Tony wants to leave. Tony, do you mind before you leave to read to us chapter 15 verse 9, Surah Al-Hijr.
Behold, it is we ourselves who have bestowed from on high, step by step, this reminder. And behold, it is we who shall truly guard it from all corruption.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِنَّ نَحْنُ نَزَّلْنَا الذِّكْرَ وَإِنَّ لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. Indeed, it's we, Allah, who sent down the Quran, and we will protect it. We will see how Allah will protect the Quran. So As-Sudi, one of the interpreters of the Quran, says, الذِّكْرُ هُوَ الْقُرْآن. The reminder that we're talking about is the Quran, which is the noble Quran. وَالرَّسُولُ, and the messenger alludes to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Al-Zajjaj says, Al-Ma'na anzala ilaykum al-Qur'an. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent down to you the Qur'an as a reminder. Wa arsala ilaykum al-Rasul, and sent to you Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam as a messenger. So people might say, for example, the Qur'an, these are words of Allah. It's theoretical, very difficult to implement it. We say that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam implemented it. And actually, Aisha testified in favor of the Prophet ﷺ when she was asked about the behavior of the Prophet. She said, "Kana khuluquhu al-Quran." His behavior was manifested in the Quran. So if you want to see the Quran working, that was Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did that to give us encouragement that you can do it. You can implement everything in the Quran. If the Prophet ﷺ did it and his companions, we can also do it. There is no any excuse for not implementing the teachings of the Quran. وَقِيلَ, it was also said, أَنزَلَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى إِلَيْكُمْ ذِكْرًا. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has sent to you a reminder, minhu, from him. The reminder, which is the Quran, Allah sent it to us from him, يُذَكِّرْكُمْ بِهِ, by which he will remind us about our duties towards him, towards ourselves, and towards his creatures. So the Quran is a reminder to us, reminding us of our duties towards Allah, towards ourselves, our families, humanity, and other creatures of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. وَيُنَبِّهُكُمْ عَلَى حَظِّكُمْ مِنَ الْإِيمَانِ بِهِ. And the Quran would also draw our attention to our fate or our destiny if we believe in Allah. So if we believe in Allah, the Quran gives us our fate. What will be the end result of believing in Allah? وَأَرْسَلَ إِلَيْكُمْ رَسُولًا. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, on top of that, He sent to you a messenger. So not only did He send to us the Quran, He also sent to us a messenger. Now, as usual, I will read to you some comments of Abdullah Yusuf Ali about the message that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sent to us in the Quran. Abdullah Yusuf Ali says, one of the names of the Quran is Ar-Ruh. So he says, Ruh, translated as inspiration, guiding spirit, has also been understood by some commentators of the Quran to refer to the angel Gabriel, the vehicle of revelation. The light of the Quran made all things clear to man and to the world. So the light of the Quran clarified everything for us. There is no ambiguity in the Quran. So this brings us to some different names of the Quran. Does anyone know any of the names of the Quran apart from the word Quran? First of all, the word Quran, where does it come from? The word Al-Quran. It comes from, someone say, it comes from qara'a, to read. So it's a book that we should always read. Now, what's our responsibility towards the Quran? Is it just to read it? To read it melodiously with good voice, tajweed? Is it enough? To recite it with tajweed? So what are our responsibilities towards the Quran? Yes, Udayfa?
A serious person not only recite the Quran, but also you will ponder over the meaning and also you will implement.
So we don't gloss over the verses, we ponder the meaning, and then we implement what the Quran tells us. What else? Actually, there are 4 things that we have to do towards the Quran. Does anyone know one of them? 4 things, 4 major things which are manifested in our responsibility. هناك 4 أشياء من واجبنا تجاه القرآن الكريم. ما هي؟ 4 أشياء. 4. أولا نقرأ ونفهم ونطبق ونعلم الآخرين. So we read, to understand, to implement, and to teach others. Now, with no offense, and without mentioning countries, one of the lessons that we learn from the Quran and from the Prophet ﷺ is to be clean, to take care of your hygiene, right? But some people who memorize the Quran and who teach the children Quran, unfortunately, they smell. I was in one country and I went to a gathering whereby some people were teaching children how to memorize the Quran. I wouldn't bear the smell. So, is it okay? You are reading the words of Allah. They're coming from one of the reasons why the Prophet ﷺ didn't like the idea of having a bad smell from his mouth. Does anyone know why? Even he would instruct his companions, before you go to pray, don't eat onions, don't eat anything with bad smell. And he would tell them. Does anyone remember what he told them? Yes, Hudayfa?
He told them to clean themselves before going for prayers.
You clean yourself before going for prayers. Why? Because he said, not only human beings are disturbed by bad smells, even angels. Even angels, yes, brother. نقرأ ونفهم ونطبق ونعلم الآخرين. خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best among you is the one who learns the Quran and then teaches it to others. So by teaching others, they have to see an example in us. You can't teach the children to implement the Quran, yet they see you doing something else. You can't teach the children to be clean, to brush their teeth, yet you who is teaching them the Quran, you don't brush your teeth. When you speak, they cover their mouths. So this is actually an affront towards the Quran. We have to respect it. This is the word of Allah. This is guidance from Allah. We have to be clean when we are teaching the Quran, when you are reciting the Quran. But unfortunately, as I said, some people who memorize the entire Quran, in some places they're not clean. Yet it's easy to be clean. So what else among our responsibilities towards the Quran? So we say to read, to understand, and actually in the process of understanding, we have to ponder over the meanings. And actually, for those who do not know Arabic, we do have a lot of translations. And actually, if you have problems with translations, you can ask experts, because again, there is a problem with translation. You can't depend on translation 100%. So we said one of the names of the Quran, Al-Quran means to read. So it's the word of Allah, which was sent to us through Angel Gabriel, the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, and we were taught how to read, recited, interpretation by the Prophet ﷺ. So we also need to read it, and by reading it, we get rewards. It's the only divine book by reading of which you get rewards from Allah. If you read one letter of the Quran, how many rewards do you get? One letter of the Quran, how many rewards? 10. You get 10. So if you read 2, 20. And actually, not only depending on your sincerity, you could get even 700 and more by reading the word of Allah. So it's not only that you read, you benefit, or if, for example, if you have psychological problems, you read it and then it will give you tranquility. But when you read sincerely, you get rewards by Allah, from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's also called Al-Furqan. It's called also Al-Furqan. What's the meaning of Al-Furqan?
The criterion.
The criterion between right and wrong. So the Quran tells you what's right and what's wrong, and encourages you to do what's right. So it came to distinguish between the right and wrong. So those who were opposing the Quran, did they have any alternative to the Quran? So those who didn't believe in it, who discredited the message of the Prophet, what alternative did they have to the Quran? So you have to bring an alternative. They didn't have it. Even those who claimed that the Prophet was a poet, Allah challenged them. If he's a poet, then you come together, you and the jinn, bring up something like the Quran. They failed. So the Quran is Al-Furqan. Then it's a dhikr. Now the word dhikr has many connotations, as we said. Dhikr, first of all, means something that reminds you, a reminder. So when you read it, you understand it, it will remind you of your obligations towards Allah. It will remind you of your obligation towards your parents, among others. So it's a constant reminder for us to go back to Allah. And this is a blessing to have something to remind you, because human beings have the tendency of forgetting. And also the word dhikr also means honor. So dhikr, let me read to you the meanings of the word dhikr. So we have dhikr, we said to pronounce something, to utter something, and actually the Quran, there is a science of reciting the Quran, tajweed. So you have to pronounce it in the proper way. And actually, one of the miraculous aspects of the Quran is that even if you don't speak Arabic, if you learn properly how to pronounce the Quran, you can read it and even win those whose language is Arabic. How many times, for example, in Quran competition during Ramadan in so many countries, those who do not speak Arabic, they win. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made it easy, whether you speak Arabic or not. It's the only divine book which is memorized from cover to cover, and the memorization of it is easy. So you memorize it. Also, dhikr means reputation, repute, fame. So if you follow the commands of the Quran, people will respect you. People will trust you. So the Prophet ﷺ, how many people, for example, after encountering him, after meeting with him, although they had some negative perceptions about him, after seeing him face to face, how many of them believed? How many of them were intrigued by his behavior, which is manifested in the Quran? So when you stick to the Quran, learning it, implementing it, teaching it to others, you will have good name, good repute. People will praise you, people will like you, people will trust you. Whether they are Muslims or not, they will still trust you. Then dhikr means also thana. So to praise, to compliment, to laud someone. In the Quran, we praise Allah, we praise the Prophet ﷺ, and those who read the Quran and implement it, they will be praised by Muslims as well as non-Muslims. So there is a time, for example, in this class, I invited someone who had a melodious verse in reciting the Quran, and I did ask the non-Muslims who attended, they said they felt tranquility and calm when he was reciting the Quran. So even the non-believers who didn't know Arabic, when they listened to the Quran being recited, they praised the reciter, they praised the Quran. And also sharaf, honor, dignity, distinction, high rank. So if you read the Quran, understand it, implement it, teach it, you will be held in dignity. You will be respected. You will be in high rank, whether by Muslims or non-Muslims. So this Quran came to give us dignity. But this dignity, we can get it if we only learn it, understand it, implement it, and then teach it to others. But if we don't implement it, this will be just a lip service. How shall we expect the dignity when we are not implementing the Quran? So, Al-Tabari, one of the interpreters of the Quran, one of the compilers of the interpretation of the Quran in Arabic, he says, Al-Dhikr, the word dhikr, يحتمل أمرين. It means, or it means two things. The first one, يريد به أنه ذكر من الله تعالى لعباده بالفرائض والأحكام. So this Quran is a reminder from us, a reminder from Allah to His servants, reminding them of His compulsory acts of worship and the rules and regulations of Islam. So the Quran came as a reminder of the compulsory acts of worship and the rules and regulations about different aspects of Islam. Number two, أنه شرف لمن آمن به وصدق به. So the Quran is an honor, dignity, respect for the person who believes in it and accepts it as true. So you believe in the Quran and you accept it as true from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you will get the honor. From whom? The honor from whom? Honor, dignity from whom? From Allah. So Allah will respect you. We will have honor from Allah. What else? Honor from who else? Yes, you will get honor from Allah, and people will respect you, even the non-believers. Now there is a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, and this is an authentic hadith, actually talking about the Quran, encouraging people to read it, understand it, and implement it. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet ﷺ in a hadith that was narrated by Anas bin Malik says, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن لله أهلين من الناس قالوا من هم يا رسول الله قال أهل القرآن الكريم هم أهل الله وخاصته. So the translation is, Anas bin Malik narrated that the Messenger of Allah said, Allah has His people among mankind. Allah has His special people among mankind. Human beings are many, 70 billion or 7 billion and above. But there are people who are special to Allah. So the companions asked the Prophet ﷺ, who are these people who are special to Allah? O Messenger of Allah, he said, they are the companions of the Quran. These are the protected people of Allah who are very special to Him. So the ones who read the Quran, understand it, implement it, and then teach it to others, they are special people to Allah. And Al-Albani rated it as Sahih in Kitab At-Taghrib. So it's an authentic hadith. Those people who learn the Quran, memorize it, teach it to others, implement it, these are the creme de la creme, special people to Allah. And if they are special people to Allah, Allah will protect them. Allah will protect those who stick to the teachings of the Quran, who read it, understand it, implement it, and teach it to others. So I will end with this athar. Does anyone know the meaning of athar? The word athar. Does anyone know what it means?
يعني أثر في حياتنا.
Athar. Athar, this is the statement of the companions. So whatever Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, those bona fide companions of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, whatever they said is called athar. And what the Prophet ﷺ said, how do we call it? Hadith. So hadith is what the Prophet said, and what the companions said is called athar. So Ali ibn Abi Talib says, giving us a definition of taqwa. And actually you said before taqwa, from where does it come? The word taqwa. It comes from al-wiqaya. And al-wiqaya means what? To shield yourself, to protect yourself. Shielding yourself from what? Yeah, shielding yourself from sins, shielding yourself from the wrath of Allah, and shielding yourself from the punishment of Allah. So the first step is to shield yourself from sins. When you're shielding yourself from sins, you are by extension shielding yourself from the wrath of Allah, because sins will bring about the wrath of Allah. And by shielding yourself from sins and the wrath of Allah, you are shielding yourself from Allah's punishment. So Ali ibn Abi Talib says, "At-taqwa huwa al-khawfu min al-jalil." To be afraid of Allah, the exalted and sublime. So taqwa is to be afraid of Allah. وَالْعَمَلُ بِالتَّنْزِيلِ, and to implement whatever Allah has revealed. So you are afraid of Allah first, and you implement whatever Allah has revealed to you. وَالْقَنَاعَةُ بِالْقَلِيلِ, and to be satisfied with the little that you have. Don't admire what people have. I have a friend who is always complaining about his wife, although I always encourage him that, matrimonial issues have to remain into the house. My wife, every time we visit friends, every time we go here, she will see something that we don't have in the house. Then she will put pressure on me, buy it. It's like they're competing in having property in the house. And actually, I continuously warn him, please, this is between you and your wife, don't tell me. He insists on telling me. So, al-qana'atu bil-qalil, to be satisfied with the little that you have. وَالْإِسْتِعْدَادُ لِيَوْمِ الرَّحِيلِ, and to prepare for the departure day, for the day when you will depart the earth. Yes. التقوى الخوف من الجليل والعمل بالتنزيل والقناعة بالقليل والاستعداد ليوم الرحيل. So these are succinct statements, few statements, but they mean a lot. For example, الخوف من الجليل. If someone is afraid of Allah, can he mistreat people? No. If someone is afraid of Allah, can he mistreat animals? No. If someone is afraid of Allah, can he mistreat his wife? So the fear of Allah is a very important component in Islam. And this is why we say that all the rules and regulations of Islam are divided into three broad segments. The first one is your relationship with Allah. You believe in Him, you are afraid of Him. And this is the driving force for you to be a good person, the fear of Allah. Yes, brother?
Who said this?
Ali ibn Abi Talib. Ali ibn Abi Talib. So is your relationship with Allah and your sincerity and integrity. If you fear Allah, you'll be a sincere person because you know Allah is watching over you. Allah knows your intentions. You can hide your intentions from human beings, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything. So if you are afraid of Him, you'll be a sincere person. You will enjoy integrity. And if you are sincere, you will treat well the creatures of Allah. Because, for example, if you have a friend, and this friend claims to love you, to be loyal to you. One of the signs of him loving you is to treat well those whom you love. So if you leave your children with your friend, you're traveling, and you tell your friend, I trust you, I'm going to leave my children with you. If when you come back, your children tell you that your friend was treating them well, you will realize that this is a real friend. But if he mistreats your children in your absence, this is not a real friend, because a friend should love whom you love. So you love your children, and he claims to love you, he should love your children as well. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. With Allah are the best examples. So the creatures of Allah, Allah loves them. So if you claim to love Allah, love those whom Allah loves. So Ali ibn Abi Talib says to be afraid of Allah and to implement whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has revealed to us. There is wisdom in it. Whether you know the reason or not, we trust Allah, because the wisdom of what Allah commands us to do might be absent from our minds today. After some time we'll discover. So we trust Him, we do whatever He tells us, and if this is our attitude, doing whatever Allah tells us, we benefit here on earth and in the hereafter. وَالْقَنَاعَةُ بِالْقَلِيلِ. And actually this is important as well, to be satisfied. What does it also imply? To be satisfied with the little that you have.
It gives you peace of mind.
It gives you peace of mind. So you know that this is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has predetermined for you. What else? Actually, this is connected to faith. To be satisfied with the little that Allah has given you is connected to your faith in Allah. Yes, brother?
You can't be tempted.
You can't be tempted. So if you are satisfied, no one can tempt you to steal, to cheat, because you are happy with what you have. Yes, it's compulsory to work hard. So if you don't achieve your goals, because your intentions were good, actually by working, you're still worshipping Allah. So here, al-qana'atu bil-qalil, this is also an aspect of faith. Because you're satisfied, everything comes from Allah. So Allah has predetermined this for me, so I'm happy with it. But if you aren't satisfied with Allah, by extension, it means you're not happy. Or if you're not satisfied with the little that you have, you're not happy with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has apportioned for you. So implicitly, you're not happy with Allah. Why is Allah giving so and so this much big, and for me I have little? So it's a problem. But if you're satisfied, this means you truly believe in Allah, you trust the judgment of Allah, you trust what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you, you trust the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, so you will continue being a happy person. Yes, brother?
But I believe nowadays there is nobody satisfied with the little. Nobody. Everybody need more.
I invited a brother here to give a lecture about the successful minority. The successful minority. And actually those who, yes, there are people who are satisfied by those, but those are a minority. And we would like to be among the minority, because Allah in the Quran, whenever He talks about the people of paradise, the successful people, He said, وَقَلِيلٌ مِّنْهُمُ الشَّكُورُ. A little of them are grateful, a little. So the minority are the ones who will be successful, and we would like to be among these minority, even in what we call elections. You know, they say democracy is the rule of the majority, blah, blah, blah. It isn't true. The Prophet ﷺ in a hadith, he says, if you elect someone to be your leader, being convinced in your heart, so you are convinced in your heart, you are sincere in your heart, and you are convinced that he will deliver, the Prophet says, obey him. Now, when people vote for the people, is their driving force conviction? Is majority of the people, is the driving force conviction or allegiances? It's from my tribe, it's from my area, it's from my religion, it's from party. So it becomes party politics. You're not convinced in your heart, but because maybe he's your brother, maybe he bought your vote, maybe this and that, you end up electing. So it's not majority. According to the standards of Islam, it's minority. So the minority, brother, they're the ones who will be successful, and who like to be among the minority who are satisfied with the little that they have. Now, does it mean that we should be satisfied and we stop working hard to get more? No. So which means you continue working hard, but if you don't get more, you thank Allah for what you have. So you will be a healthy person. This will help you to avoid jealousy, envy, plotting against one another, cheating, lying. because you're satisfied with what we have, because even to work per se, just working is an act of worship. Whether you are successful or not, by working hard, Allah rewards you. And on the day of judgment, some people will come. They will be desperate for good deeds, for rewards. Allah will tell them, you worked so hard, you wanted to achieve this and that. I didn't give it to you on earth because it was detrimental for you if I had given it to you. But now instead of what you were asking for, I'm giving you this in paradise. And you will be so grateful to Allah. You know, I always give an example. Would you have a volunteer here? Can we have a volunteer here? Anyone volunteer? Anyone volunteer? So we will probably end with this. What's your name, brother? Ishaq. So brother Ishaq, where are you from? Nigeria. Brother Ishaq is from Nigeria. So brother Ishaq, for example, your father is an influential person, a wealthy person. He sends you to the best university. He pays for everything. And after you graduate, he gets you a job. So for example, you become a lawyer. But he tells you, Ishaq, your salary is 2,000 KD. I will give you only 500 KD and I will keep 1,500 KD with me. How would you feel? You are getting 2,000 KD. Your father keeps 1,500. He gives you only 500. Yet you're working so hard. How would you feel?
I would feel so low.
You'd feel bad, right?
Yes.
In your heart, you'd feel it. But I'm working, I'm toiling. But because he's your father, you'll keep quiet. Yeah, but you'll feel bad in your heart.
I feel bad.
After 20 years, your father says, brother, my son Ishaq, come with me. He takes you to the Solomon's Island. And he shows you a very huge company, real estate, a whole town. And he says, this is the money that I was taking from you. All this belongs to you. Take the keys. How do you feel at that time?
I would feel very, very happy.
You'll feel very, very happy. And actually, you will regret why you were feeling bad before.
I won't regret.
You okay? So,
Because I love seeing what can please me.
yeah, there are some fathers who do this, by the way. So, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى. So, Allah does more than this for you. Yeah, so something that you desperately wanted here, He knew that actually I had a story, not mentioning countries. Someone told me there was a rich person, filthy rich man, and his son was into car, how do they call them? The car races, racing with cars. And his son was pressurizing him to buy him a very expensive cars in order to participate in car races. So the father bought the car, assuming that this will bring happiness here, assuming that this will bring happiness in the family. While racing, the son died. So they were expecting happiness from that expensive car. What ended? It ended into misery. So what human beings can give, it's not like what Allah gives. So whatever Allah gives, it's to our best interest. Okay, Jazakallah khair. Barakallah feek. Okay, any questions, comments? Jazakumullah khair. See you inshallah. Yes.
I want my experience, I tell you, all of my life, I do it, think for the people. I said, okay, I do it باللغة العربية أقول لي أحسن.
Okay.
أي شغلة طول حياتك أنت تسوي أي شيء علشان الناس وأجامل الناس. طبعا كنت أجامل فلانية علشان رب العالمين يكرمني في بنتي في بيتي في شيء. بعد سنوات قبل سنة صار فيني أزمة وكذي عرفت لما طحت في الأزمة عرفت لا أنا مو لازم أشرط في رب العالمين أبي شيء من رب العالمين ما أشرط يعني ما أسوي شيء مقابل شيء خالصا خلوصا لرب العالمين. رب العالمين كرمني بعدها يعني فترة اللي عشت كلها وهاي السنة شيء ثاني أحس الحمد لله.
She said at the beginning, whenever she wanted something from Allah, she would please people, do something for the people, in return waiting for the blessings of Allah. But things didn't turn out well. Now her attitude is, I am doing it for the sake of Allah. Yeah, not giving conditions to Allah. So this is the best attitude. We
انت
all,
حست فرحة بس مو فرحة اللي حسها الحين.
So she was happy at the time when she was doing things, expecting awards from Allah, but now she's doing everything for the sake of Allah. So if it's pleasing people, for the sake of Allah, not for the sake of the people. Jazakallah khair. Barakallah. Okay, see you inshallah. Yes, sister.
I thought the fact that you can read like any surah or any ayah from the Quran separately and you will get like a benefit from it. Not like some other books, like you need to read chapter 1 to understand chapter 2 or 3. Like in the Quran is different, you can read any part
Yeah,
of it.
from wheresoever you choose to read,
It's
you will get the meaning. You will get, is it?
does it have any name or kind of attribute or?
No, there is no any attribute. But what we understand is the Quran is light, is a reminder. So from wheresoever you read, you will get the message, and this message becomes a reminder to you to implement it. Yes.
When you said that La ilaha illallah before somebody dies and they don't have a chance to say it, they really want to say it, does it get counted if they're just thinking it?
That's very good. That's very good. So, for example, someone is terminally ill, maybe they can't speak, they can't move their tongues. If in his heart he wants to say it, but he can't, then Allah will reward him for the intention. You know, there is a long hadith from the Prophet ﷺ, and actually this is al-hadith al-Qudsi. So it's statements from Allah which are not written in the Quran, that if someone intends to do something good, and for one reason or the other he doesn't do it, he will get the reward. When you intend to do something and you didn't do it, whether it was justified, wasn't justified, just you are rewarded for the intention. And if you intended to do something good and you did it, you get rewards from 10 up to 700 up to above, depending on your intention. And if someone intended to commit a sin, and he was unable to commit it for one reason or the other, for whatever reason, he gets one reward. So imagine someone wanted to commit a sin, maybe he wanted to steal from someone's house and the owner of the house came and he wasn't able to steal, he gets one reward. And if he steals, he gets only one sin. So this person, because he was not unable, he will be rewarded because of his intention.
Even like right before an accident, like you were saying, you didn't say it, you intended to say it, but it didn't come out.
Yeah, it didn't come
You
out.
just kept saying,
Yeah.
Is that
Allah
he gets
rewards you
credit
for the intention.
He got rewarded.
Yes. Yeah, Allah is very
I
generous.
have a small story about this.
Yeah.
Actually, in Egypt, it is very famous in Egypt.
Okay, so instead of so for the sisters, can you come and sit here, stand here for the people to hear?
Yeah, I said it in English. I tried to tell it
Okay,
in
okay.
English. And
Yeah,
my friend
Sister
told
Diana,
me,
she wants to share a story.
some woman was in a hospital. She was terminally ill. She was sick. She was non-Muslim, and she was grasping on the bed. By the time her sons and daughters ran out to call doctors to help her, to resuscitate her actually. Muslims around her saw this condition. They ran towards her. They don't know she is not Muslim. They tried to tell her to tell La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Just say it, say it, say it. At last she said it and she died. By the time her sons and daughters comes back to her, what happened? Okay, don't worry. The people around her told their sons and daughters, don't worry, she said La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah. Oh God, she's not Muslim. We are not Muslims, actually. By the time her best friend told that she had a secret for her, that she wished all her life to be a Muslim. But she didn't get it. She was very much afraid of her family. At the moment of her die only, at the moment of her death only, she could achieve this.
Yeah, actually, that's a very good situation. You know, I gave khutbah last week in Pentas, and someone came to me and said, because I quoted the hadith of the Prophet, when someone was a righteous man, another one wasn't. So the righteous man told the other one, Wallahi lan yaghfir Allahu li fulan. I swear by Allah, Allah won't forgive so and so. Allah was angry. He said, Man alladhi yata'alla alayya an la aghfira li fulan. Who is he who swears in my name that I won't forgive so and so? Now I have forgiven him and rendered all your acts null and void. So one person came to me and says, if someone isn't a believer, can we say he will go to hell? I said, no, you can't. You don't know what's in his heart. Many people are believers in their hearts, but they can't say it for one reason or the other. It's between him and Allah. We can't judge anyone. Even the Prophet ﷺ, those polytheists of Mecca who were torturing the Muslims, he didn't say they will go to hell until he got revelation. So and so will go to hell. This is when he said, but he never said it because some of them who were ardent enemies of Islam, finally they became Muslims and they served Islam. So you can't say so and so will go to hell. Maybe Iman is in their hearts. We can't tell. Only Allah can tell. So yeah, this is a good story. So all her time she wanted to be a believer, but her family didn't. She had an influence from the family, bad influence. Now she got the chance. And actually, this is also a lesson for us who do dawah. Don't lose hope. Even when someone is ill and dying, still continue doing dawah to them to save life. And actually, this is one of the good activities of doing dawah, visiting patients in hospitals.
أما الرسول عبد المطلب كان صح؟
نعم.
اللي ساعد الرسول
عبد المطلب، نعم.
ساعد الرسول صلى الله عليه وسلم.
نعم.
بس هو عزت عقدة الروح، الرسول قال يقول لا إله إلا الله، ما قالها. مع إنه كان زي مع الرجل يساعد وشو، بس هالكلمة ما نطق منها علشان يعني ما كان مو ناس حابوا لها.
So she says, Abu Talib